My dear brothers and sisters in Iman, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Tonight I want to look at the topic of the supplication, the weapon of the believer. You know, we live in a world, we are all living in this country or wherever we live in these societies. And we know that our faith is constantly under attack. Right? For those who are the sisters who wear the hijab, obviously they are the vanguards of our religion. Right? For them it's a completely different challenge that us as men will never experience. Because our sisters, when they go out there with their hijab on and their abayas or whatever they wear, immediately they are recognized as Muslim women. And they are really in the crosshairs of those who are against this religion. Us men, we leave the gathering. If we have a beard, well, you know, the beards are trendy nowadays. So people don't know if we're Muslim or not, right? We don't look as Muslims. We don't wear turbans when we walk down the street. Even I don't wear a turban when I walk down the street. So nobody knows, men, if we're Muslims or not. But our sisters, they feel the brunt of the challenges out there. And we know that we live in a world where not only are we under attack by non-Muslims, those who are antagonistic against Islam, but we know as followers of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, peace be upon them, that we are even under attack by so-called Muslims. And you see the news. You see where our harams are destroyed, where people are targeted, like in Pakistan, like in Parachinar, like in Afghanistan, like in Bahrain, in Yemen, only because we love the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. And isn't it strange that that is a Quranic injunction? Allah says, قُلْ لَا أَسْأَلُكُمْ عَلَيْهِ أَجْرًا إِلَّا الْمَوَدَّةَ فِي الْقُرْبَى. Our messenger told the Muslim Ummah, I ask you no reward for this message except that you love my family. And we as an extension love the family of the Prophet, and we are targeted because of that. The question is, what can we do to prevent those attacks? What can we do to protect ourselves? Now, this isn't America where you can walk around with a 9mm in your back pocket and kill somebody if they, do something to you. We live in a society, you live in a society where hopefully violence isn't at that level as it is in America or other countries in the world. But our messenger, our beloved Prophet, gave us the secret to protection. And when he was asked that, should I not guide you to a weapon that will protect you? The companions said, of course, Ya Rasulullah. And he says that ad-du'a silahul mu'min, that the weapon of the believer is the dua, is the supplication. When we have Allah as the one who's protecting us, we don't really have to worry about other things. That doesn't mean we don't stay vigilant. We still are smart. We watch where we're going. But we realize ultimately at the end of the day that if we are firm on our connectivity to Allah, if we are firm in our supplications to God, that He will be that protection that we need. He will be that shield that we look for in times of difficulty and stress. Last night when we looked at the parents, I talked at the very end very briefly about a dua that we make about our mother and father, where we said, وَاخْفِضْ لَهُمَا جَنَاحَ الذُّلِّ مِنَ الرَّحْمَةِ وَاخْفِضْ لَهُمَا جَنَاحَ الذُّلِّ مِنَ الرَّحْمَةِ. That lower to your parents out of mercy the wing of humility. وَقُلْ رَبِّ ارْحَمْهُمَا كَمَا رَبَّيَانِي صَغِيرًا. O Allah, O my Lord, have mercy on them as they brought me up when I was a little child. That was a dua that we make. Tonight I want to further expand, not that specific supplication, but I want to talk tonight about dua in general, the philosophy of duas. Why do we spend, for example, so much of our time in dua, in supplication to Allah? First off, what does this word dua mean? Right? We have to go to the root of the Arabic to understand all of these concepts. When we look at the word dua in the Arabic linguistic approach, the word dua comes from an Arabic word, obviously, and it literally means to call. to call upon somebody, to invite somebody. And obviously there are multiple derivatives of this word based in the Quran. We see that Allah uses the same root of dua to mean an invitation. So for example, when Prophet Noah is speaking in the Quran, he says that inni da'awtu qawmi laylan wa naharan, that indeed Allah, I called my community day and night to come to Islam, to come to your submission. He used the same root word of dua, da'wah, to invite people to religion. Allah also uses it in chapter number 40, where Allah says, Udu'uni astajib lakum, call upon me. Dua, Allah says, Udu'uni astajib lakum, and call upon me, and I will answer your call. So in a nutshell, this word dua, what we use, dua means to call upon, and here we mean we are calling upon Allah. Right? Dua doesn't mean I am sitting and looking at my smartphone and watching the PowerPoint presentation go by. Right? If we're doing that to read the translation and the Arabic, great, but just looking at the screen is not dua. Just hearing somebody in the majlis recite dua kumail and we just listen to it, that's not making dua to Allah. That's listening to somebody calling upon Allah. But guess what? That person isn't like the Imam of Salatul Jama'at, where whatever he says, it goes for all of us. We have to follow along in those words because we are calling upon Allah. We're not listening to somebody calling upon Allah. We want to be actively calling upon Allah within these du'as. And as a community, as followers of Ahlul Bayt, peace be upon them, we are so blessed. We are blessed to have du'as for every occasion. Different months in the year, Dhul Hijjah comes along, 9th of Dhul Hijjah, the day of Arafat. We have the dua of Sayyid al-Shuhada. We have the dua of Imam Zainul Abidin, peace be upon them. That's on a monthly level, once a year. Every week we have dua kumail. Every week we have dua nudba, we have dua tawassul. Every day we have the duas for Monday, for Tuesday, for Wednesday. And believe it or not, even in our books of du'as, we have du'as for every hour of the day. Just like Big Ben signals at 12 o'clock and 1 o'clock the bells ring at Westminster or Big Ben, we have du'as for every hour. 12 o'clock hits, we have a du'a to recite. 1 o'clock, there's another du'a. 2 o'clock, another du'a. We have all of these supplications that the Prophet taught us, that our Imams taught us. You and I can talk to Allah in our language. We can use English, we can use French. Those who, for example, can't speak, they can use sign language and talk to Allah. Allah knows every language. But when we use the words of the Prophet and his infallible family, it's a different experience altogether. If you were just following Dua Kumail tonight, and you just look at the way that the translator has rendered the words of our Mawla, it blows the mind to see with what connectivity our Imam is speaking to Allah. Now obviously he's taking his conversation to God at a completely different level, right? It's just like if you were a university professor or you're a student in university, your professor will talk to you at a particular level. But that professor, when he goes home to his 2-year-old, he'll talk to his 2-year-old like that child is a 2-year-old. Right? So when you and I talk to Allah, it's at a different level. It's Allah, I want this, give me that, give me this. But when the Imams of Ahlul Bayt talk to Allah, it's at a completely different level altogether. And so we have to appreciate the fact that we have been blessed with this heritage, right? The dua, the calling upon Allah.